Hey everybody, my name is Jeff H. Malum. Welcome to this video, which is a little chaotic probably because so many things are not right. The lighting is usually bad, but today there's actually a window right next to me, but my how's it called? My shutter, my louver broke, so it's constantly closed right now, which makes the room way darker than it is. Plus, I just came from my final exam, my final university exam of this semester, so my head might be a little, well, all over the place, just like my hair. I want to go to the hairdresser today, after the video. But on my way home from this exam, this was it was a literature exam, so to say. I had to read many books for it, and the exam also had many questions about, well, certain ways of analyzing certain books and their reception on society. And on my way home, I thought about some of these books, and once again, something was stuck in my mind. So I do not have a script for this video, but some thought stuck in my mind, and I want to talk about this in this video. And yeah, then I would start again with more structured videos. So this is more like, I don't know, more like a podcast, more like a rant about the length of books. So the volume, so to say, the number of pages, the amount of text in a book, and how things are changing or have been changing. And let me start by showing you again the three novels, some people would say novels, or would say novellas that I have published so far, and they are all three entries to a series called Backfire. There is Backfire in Solitude, there is Backfire 20 Hands, and there is Backfire Voices of Violence, and all of them are not that long. They are very thin, and I even got messages from people who bought it, and those people were actually confused because I called it a book, I called it a novel, and then it's only like the first is around 70 pages long, the second is around 100 pages long, and the third is around 60 pages long. So not that long, and people got confused by that, and I understand it because they probably grew up reading something like that. You know, this is the 5th Harry Potter book in a random Hufflepuff version. I have all of the Harry Potter books in those versions, but in different houses. I'm not all for one house, you know. Let's not talk about this right now. But I own the 5th as a Hufflepuff version, and it's kind of thick. How many pages is it till the story ends? Something like 800 pages. And yeah, they probably grew up with that and wanted to tell me that this is what a book has to look like. And I completely disagree. I could not agree less, actually. Now, Harry Potter, just like Dune, you know, the first Dune is also, it's huge. I mean, those pages are smaller, way smaller than the Harry Potter pages. You can see that, right? But it's still like almost 900 pages. So even if it was the same format, it would still be like 800 pages. So it is a fucking lot, you know? And compared to, this is my thickest book, right next to those, it is more like the gap between them, you know? And it's a lot. So I understand that people get confused, and I also think that both Harry Potter and Dune are good books, are good novels, because in the world they are set. Those books are, you know, those are science fiction and fantasy books. Those are not set in our world, and they need lots of time to really immerse us into this new world, obviously. So I understand why they are that long. However, I do not agree that all books have to look like that. And having a look at modern or today's, you know, contemporary literature, not modern literature, there seems to be this idea that, some authors tend to think the longer the book, the better, because this shows how much effort they put into it. And I really don't agree. I have seen lots of books that were long and very bad. And one of them is, for example, this one. You probably heard of that. The Circle by Dave Vickers. It's not even that long. It's like, what is it? Something like 500 pages? Yeah. Around. This version has 491 pages of fictional text. And this is too long. It is actually an okay story, but when reading through this, you can really see that Dave Eggers just freaking tried to make it as long as possible. Just to, there are so many scenes where, well, what is written doesn't add to the story, doesn't add to the world. It's just random stuff to put more words in, to sell it for a higher price maybe, and have it look like it's worth more and was more effort. While to me, sorry Dave Eggers, but when I look at this, I don't see that. And especially when you go to a science fiction and to a fantasy shelf in a bookstore, 80% of the books are like that. And this frustrates me because there are so many good stories out there. But, well, considering how long there are, no human being has that much time to read all of them, obviously. And I don't know. There are, when you watch a movie, for example, there are some sorts of conventions how long a movie should be. And there is this, when you watch a horror movie, it's almost always like 90 minutes plus minus. And if there is something that needs a lot of world build up, like Dune as well, then it could be 2.5 hours long. But there really are very few exceptions to that rule of something between 80 and, let's say, 150 minutes. And in my opinion, that's a good thing. While in books, this doesn't seem to be the case. Sometimes it does. As it was for me, when I publish a book that is 70 pages long, it isn't really considered a book. But it is. However, the point I want to make is not that lots of writing is bad, because there are good examples like Harry Potter and Dune. However, what happened to those books? What happened to something like William Golding's Lord of the Flies? It is an amazing book, and it is basically perfect length. It's, I don't know the exact length, something like 280, 290 pages, something like that. And none of the words in there seems like it's filler, but also nothing seems like it's missing. 290 pages, great. Casino Royale, Ian Fleming, 230 pages, same thing. Everything is sad that wanted to be sad, nothing's missing, and it's 230 pages. Agatha Christie's The Pale Horse, same thing, 260 pages. The Catcher in the Rye, J.D. Salinger, 230 pages. Now, I understand that those books are kind of sad in a realistic world, so it doesn't need as much build-up as, for example, a Harry Potter or Dune that is set in a completely different world. Okay, Harry Potter is not set in a completely different world, but I think you know what I mean when talking about Harry Potter. But if I have a look into my bookshelf, there would be others that also are in a completely fictional world, or just kind of enhanced world or whatever, and they don't need 500 pages of build-up for the story. There are better ways to tell stories than doing that. And I realized that over and over again, because first of all, my favorite books always look like that. This is a German book, or I think an Austrian book, by Arthur Schnitzler, called Die Trump Novella. I think there's also a movie that is loosely based on that, called Eyes Wide Shut. I think this was loosely based on that. And this book is that small, in comparison to Xenora, for example. It's like half the size, and then it's like 120 pages. So if it was that format, it would probably be like, 60 pages. So more like my Backfire novels. And I really enjoy this because you can just, read it in 2 or 3 evenings, or even in one if you want to. And then it's done. Like with the movie. You don't watch a movie over a week. You watch it, in one evening. Or if you're too tired after an hour, then you watch the rest on the next day. And I really appreciate it if books do that. Now, of course, I do understand that you can't do that with all books, that you, finish them in one day. I completely understand this because books are, they are doing things differently from movies, obviously, because they are not movies. And so I'm completely okay if it is like 200 something pages or 300 pages and you need a couple of days to read through them. Or if you are a very slow reader like myself, then maybe you need a couple of weeks to go through them. But it doesn't feel like a drag. And it's a good length. And I really appreciate that. And, I think about it so many times because I have a couple of friends that really enjoy reading a lot. I enjoy reading, but definitely not as much as they do, because they do nothing else in their free time than reading, and I really think that's a cool thing. But then I asked them for recommendations, and some of them keep recommending series or novels that are, looking like that. And I'm really sick of that, because I've talked about this in a podcast, the podcast with Dave. In the time that you read this book, for example. Now, Harry Potter is not the best example here, because Harry Potter is so exceptionally good that you just still read it, even if it's that long. But let's have a look. I have A Lord of the Flies, The Pale Horse, and Catcher in the Rye. They are about as thick as this Harry Potter book. Those 3 books added up are as long as this one Harry Potter book. Now, as I said before, this is not I hate against Harry Potter. I like Harry Potter, but against this length of books in general. Now, in the time you read this one very thick book, you could read 3 whole other books. Or even if I had enough Backfire copies, I would show you how many Backfire copies would fit in there. But like 15, you could read 15 Backfire novels in that time. That's a lot. And really, when I think about what I want to read next, and I have, let's say, 3 months of time, and let's just say I need 1 month for 200 pages because I have other hobbies and lots of things to do. And this would mean I could either, in those 3 months, read one, or let's say 250 pages, then I could either read one 750 page book or 3 250 pages books. And then my decision is usually very fast and very clear, that I read the shorter ones. because more stories to immerse in the same amount of time that I would need for one of the big ones. And this is also a little, my philosophy when writing books, because I know that reading takes a lot of time. And there are many people out there who don't read as much anymore because they don't feel like taking this time of just sitting somewhere and reading through only words. And while it's not exactly the same for me, I understand this. I understand why, in the way our society shifts, why this is a thing. So when I write, I think about those people. A very good friend of mine, Richard, is like that. He rarely reads a book. But I know that he reads Backfire, because it's only like this 50 to 150 pages in that range. And even he can sit there for maybe one train ride or one evening, just go through it, and then it's done until the successor comes a couple of months later. And this is why I don't understand why people criticize short books. And I don't, of course, you can criticize the content, the structure, and so on. You can on this level, you can criticize many things. Doesn't matter what length, of course. But people often criticize books just for being short, and don't accept it into this, literary canon because they are, too short. And I don't agree. I've just last week, I've read through a book. Wait a second. This one. It's from Rachel Ingalls, and it's called Mrs. Caliban. It's very thin. How long is it? It's 117 pages. And it's a story from start to finish. And it was a great experience. And it's also set in a realistic world, so it doesn't need that much build up. I understand it. But still, short books work. Why are they criticized for what they are? And why do people keep getting thicker and thicker with their books? I think this is why I haven't read many fantasy books, because it's such a common thing in fantasy, and I really dislike that. Okay, I've been talking a lot about that now. I'm really excited for what you think about that, so just put it in the comment section below. Even perhaps you are this kind of person who wants books to be that big, who really want them to be door stoppers, or someone who doesn't accept short books as books, or short novels as novels. Please tell me, or maybe you feel the same way, and tell me why and how. Let me know in the comment section below. And yeah, that's about it for this week's video. Next week I will have some information for you, and probably shorter hair again. I have next week is more like information, trailer, teaser, something like that, video announcement kind of stuff. And the week after, or the week after that, I'm not too sure, I will talk about literature in a video that I've been very, very excited to do for months now. So stay tuned, and see you very soon. Read you very soon in the comment section.